basis?
We specified internet access would be available. We will provide internet access at the mansion for this system to be there. We have a very similar installation at the town rooms at 10 Pearl Street. The judges actually access that system from home.
Do we have internet capabilities at Crawford Park?
Yes and no, Frank?
There's Verizon on the second floor.
Yeah.
All hookups for a computer. So in one room, there is the Verizon hookup right against the wall in Mike's office.
So is that copper or is that Fios?
That's Fios.
That's Fios.
Yeah, so we'll extend that down to the space, the closet that we're going to put this unit
So
in.
is that cost of extending that line included in this quote?
No, that's something that we have to pick up. We have to provide the internet service at the closet.
Do we know how much that is?
I'm going to tell you $250, $300.
Plus the monthly fee, right?
Oh, it's there already.
Oh,
Well, it's there already, but it is a monthly fee of roughly about $49.99 or whatever it is,
It's going to be
$49.99.
locked up, correct?
Excuse me?
It's going to be locked up?
Yeah, the unit itself is scheduled to be put into the service closet that's immediately opposite the staff room.
Is there going to be a cage around the DVR?
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
16 gauge steel DVR lockbox with a fan kit.
Right. It'll actually be locked up.
Yep.
All right,
Locked
so
up inside the locked room?
locked up inside of a locked closet, yes.
Okay. Is there a camera in there to look at who comes in and who goes out?
There is a camera, there happens to be a camera positioned in the hallway. Now, what happens if the stairway project goes ahead, that camera would have to be relocated a bit, but yes, there is a camera there.
So I could watch the door?
Well, we're watching the back door, the access door, basically, in case somebody either breaks in or somebody comes in unauthorized or something like that. That image will be captured at that back door.
And it will also capture the door to the room that houses...
It actually, because of the width of the view,
Right.
It captures both doorways, because the doorways are almost directly opposite each other.
Yeah.
So it'll capture people going into the staff room as well as capture people going
I
into
just
the
want to make
closet.
sure that we can catch whoever goes in and,
Yes.
tries to adjust the DVR.
And
Do you have a question?
Well, I just want to talk about that 1 second. And just what Councilman Iores is talking about. The only person that should have the key to that DVR should be sitting in the supervisor's office and not released unless the board says to release
Well,
it.
hold on. There has to be some sort of maintenance on a periodic basis,
Yeah.
drawing information off the disk or changing disks.
Well, only if we do.
Can that all be done remotely, or?
You have the ability to do it remotely. It is extremely time consuming if you try to download it over the internet.
Right.
You do have to go in there, but the reality is if you set this up properly, you may have to go in there and offload a disk, if you want to offload a disk, every 2 to 3 months. You're not talking about a high-frequency operation. The way the system works, just so everybody understands, we would set it up so that it captures X amount of images, and at some point, the disk drive loads up, and at that stage, the oldest data gets pushed aside and the newest data gets saved. So what will happen is we will probably have a running, I'm going to say 4 to 6 months of data on there. Once the data is 6 months old, believe me, I don't think we're going to want to have to go back there if there's no incident that's recorded. All right, but for the sake of, let's say, an hour, every 2 to 3 months, we can actually go in there, download the data, refresh the disk, and start from scratch.
I just want to go back to what Councilman Iores was originally talking about. Obviously, once you put a system in like this, the restrictions to who has access to the system is important. So I'm suggesting that the key be placed in the custody of the secretary to the supervisor, and the only time that it is released to anyone else, is with the supervisor's permission. Okay. Do you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, no, I agree.
That should be a standard.
I don't know if the secretary is going to want to go there once a month or whenever, spend an hour and pull information on.
Well, maybe it's something that we could work with Mr. Hogden.
But
Yeah, there are ways we can handle that, I'm sure. We've had our system at 10 Pearl Street now for the better part of 2.5 years or 2 years. It has not been an onerous thing, and frankly, it's been extremely effective at 10 Pearl Street. So,
Good. All right, so I think any other questions for Mr. Nowotnik? Can I get a motion to approve the purchase of the system?
well, was this budgeted, or in the budget somewhere?
Yes.
this is part of your capital, it's part of your capital program, and it was included in the, I think it was the 122,000 portion
Okay.
that we had.
And this is about what we expected to pay for such a system?
Yeah, it was we were in the ballpark. We have a 9-camera system at 10 Pearl Street, and that cost us $15,000 to install.
Who installed that, Jim? Was it one of these companies?
No, it was Wireless World or something out of Harrison.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to approve?
Second, just with the dollar amount being the $12,040.
I agree.
And for the record, Westchester Lock and Alarm.
Right.
Okay?
Second?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All in favor, say
Aye.
Aye.
beautiful. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Crawford, stay there, Mr. Nowotnik,
I'm
Crawford
here.
Park Tree work.
No, lease.
Oh,
Storage lease.
Sorry, storage lease.
All right, I'll just tee this up very quickly. The Council of the Arts had come to us some time ago. They have been running their theater art program there all summer, and they have somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 100 children that participate in that program. They asked us if they could find storage space for their costumes and for some of their set work and so forth. We have renovated the 4 rooms upstairs, I should say, yeah, 4 rooms upstairs. They've all been freshly painted. We haven't done the floors yet, but that's all that's left to do. And they felt that they would like to rent the room at the top of the stairs, which is approximately 10 feet wide by maybe 20 feet long, to store their costumes. And they evaluated the basement of the mansion to store their set pieces, their whatever stands, platforms, flats, and they're offered to pay. They basically have offered to pay $300 a month just for the storage. That's it. So they saw the spaces, they like the spaces, they're willing to pay you $300. I think we set up a lease to be a 1-year lease, and we can see how it goes.
Perfect. So it's pretty straightforward. You want to lease this room to these people for $300 a month.
Is it just the room or the basement?
It's the room and the basement.
Both.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the basement storage is not very large either, but they're talking about the what I
I'm
call the
just
big
concerned
piece.
that we don't run into a situation like we ran into at Wrighttown Park, where we allow people to store stuff in there, and then it becomes, like a junk graveyard.
Well, Wrighttown Park is really a totally different situation.
I just don't want to run into that situation.
I
don't think there's a risk of that here.
Right.
I don't think.
I mean, here we have a lease that
I think we need to move forward. I don't think that, I think it's a legitimate concern. You're absolutely right, correct, Councilman. Yours.
Fine,
but
but
I don't-
that should be put into the lease and how much spot, and
Yeah,
how much space they're allotted.
That's a very
Yep.
good point. So let's make it very clear that we should, yes, we make it
Okay.
very clear whether, you're absolutely correct, Councilman.
It's also a 1-year term,
See,
correct?
and I think, right.
Yes, it's a 1-year
What
term.
about
It can always
access?
be
I mean,
evaluated.
if they're going to have their stuff stored in there, do they need keys to the mansion? Do they have access to it
They already have access.
at any time?
no, they don't have access at any time, but
Well, no, but they already have access, when they're there for the time
Well, yeah,
they're
they have-
supposed to be there.
right.
And that's the only time that they need their stuff, is when they're there.
Well, we are planning on giving them their own key, and we're also planning on giving them their own alarm code. Very similar to what we've done with, for example, with Weight Watchers, when
And-
Weight Watchers was there.
And obviously, that's a way that we can monitor people accessing the...
Yeah, and we get reports on the actual usage.
Mark down.
The reports come every Monday, I believe, right, Bishop?
Excuse me?
Every Monday, the reports come
Yes,
here?
yes, we get reports regularly.
Okay.
I agree with Councilman Naoris. Obviously, you know, we should identify, make sure that when they first bring their material there, that you show them the areas, so there's clear, no question.
Yep.
And obviously, the Council of the Arts is a good tenant and a good friend to the town of Rye. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve this
And a
resolution.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, terrific, moving right along. Crawford Park Tree work.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Crawford Park Tree work.
Yes. Okay. Whoops, hold on, I have it here. Oh, do I have it here?
I'll give it to you.
No, I don't have it here.
Here, pass it down.
Okay,
Oh, okay, excuse me.
There you go.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, this actually originated with a resident complaint, Mr. Hastings, who happens to live right on the corner of Wilton Road and Crawford Park, more or less in center field of Crawford Park. A call to ask us to look at the trees that are on the perimeter by the stone wall. They're all Crawford Park trees, but they happen to be literally at his backyard. We first looked at them ourselves. We thought, gee, you know, some of them looked like they were leaning in the wrong way. We then contacted Mike Nowak of the Village of Rye Brook. He's a certified arborist. He actually does all the tree inspections for the Village of Rye Brook. He helped us by taking basically a walk and examining all the trees in that particular area, and identified certain trees that required pruning, certain trees that should actually come down, and one particular ash tree that he felt needed to be cabled. If you're familiar, it basically splits out into a Y, and he thought that that was dangerous. So armed with his requirements, what he spelled out, we then went and contacted 4 different tree companies, and that's the result that you see in front of you. Our recommendation here is we give the work to Timberline Tree and Landscaping. They came with very good reviews and approximately 10% lower than the next lowest bid.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, 5% lower than the next lowest bid.
Thanks. Questions for Mr. Nowotnik?
Bishop, this process was the same way. We went out to bid, and this was the lowest qualified bidder?
Yes, yes, and we did qualify the bidder. He's licensed in Westchester, has all the appropriate insurance, been in business for 18 years, et cetera, has all the equipment.
Very good. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this resolution.
Second? Second?
Second.
Okay. Now, all in
All
favor?
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Nowotnik. Thanks for the hard
There's
work.
one- I'm afraid there's one more.
Hold on one second, I just have a quick question.
Yes.
When was the last time that the trees had sort of been examined or a process this has been done at
Uh,
Crawford?
When we first came in, we did some extensive tree work in our first year. We took care of a lot of trees. We then had the storm, Hurricane
That
Irene.
took care
We
of
lost
most of
about
the
50, right, that took care of most of the weak trees because we lost about 50 trees during that storm. And subsequently, there was another nor'easter where we lost a few more trees, I don't know, Frank, 5 or 6. So nature has more or less taken care of it. However, we do have a need to go through the park and look at pruning needs for trees.
So you weren't entirely caught off guard with this?
Oh, no, not at all. As a matter of fact, what I failed to mention is we're also taking out the big elm tree at the bottom. If you, once you come into the park on the right-hand side, there's a dead elm tree right in the middle of the field. Well, that's included in this particular proposal. We're taking that out as well.
All right, thanks for the background.
Beautiful. Excellent. Okay, so that was approved. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the SER,
Okay?
if I can. Basically, this is a group that wants to rent office space at the town. I think this is pretty straightforward. We've been wanting to rent office space at the town, at 10 Pearl Street for a while. And I guess this group is a group, Bishop, that works with the community as well, correct?
Yes, this is the group that actually conducted the children's program at Edison School, what they call the Neighborhood School Program, SER of Westchester.
Well, I can say that I think it's a great, now they haven't made a formal proposal, this is just one to advise the board to make forward.
No, we've had some exploratory discussions, they've actually looked at the space, they seem happy with it. Their board has had a
Yep,
discussion.
okay, so I think, yep, so yeah,
Okay.
the board had a discussion.
The board has had a discussion and they are interested, and at this particular point, all I'm trying to do is just bring this to our
Yeah.
board, and if we're interested, then we can start putting together the
Well, I
makings
guess-
of the deal.
Well, Rob's saying to make a formal vote on anything tonight, but I think it'd be a great tenant, and we finally ran one of these rooms, so it seems to be completely consistent with what we're trying to do. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Nowotnik on this?
Well, I mean, we can, well, I think we should leave here with some direction. Just to see, I would be in favor of this, and I'd like to see this on as a resolution for next month, and have Attorney Noto prepare a lease for them.
Well, I think that's right. I think the direction is absolutely right, Deputy Supervisor Lone, is to say, yeah, get them in and have them rented.
Okay?
We don't have, they're also, we're just dating right now. They haven't made a formal, they haven't made a formal commitment yet. So, but yes, absolutely, Godspeed.
All right, fine, and we can have, hopefully we can have something hard for you to vote on next
Right,
meeting.
yeah, perfect, great. Okay,
All right, I'm finished.
2012 In-Rem proceedings. Mr. Noto, are you going to do this again one more time?
Well, yes, sir. It's that time of year again, as we
How
say,
many-
and looking at the financials, it might be timely that we try to collect some unpaid taxes.
How many properties, Mr. Burns?
40.
And 1.1 million?
Well, it's actually 1,300,000, it looks like.
Before we go into this, how many houses do we currently own?
I'd
Properties.
say less than a half dozen.
Okay, but I mean, what's the value?
Oh, I don't know.
But I mean, isn't that where we can make up our
Well, yeah,
$600,000 shortfall? I mean, they're worth $600,000.
Well, I don't know if they're worth that much, but I think the Locust Avenue case is just dragging on, and I'm having some difficulties with the Guardian ad litem getting a report back. So I told Bishop, by all means, get the guys on board to do the auction with what we have for this year, and then we'll do this every year. We do have a nice property on Halsted Avenue in Mamaroneck, which we took last year, which is I think it's a two-family, I'm not sure, but that's got to be worth $300,000 or $400,000. It's a perfectly good house.
That's upset. We have $500,000 in property.
I don't know that the others are
realized.
in quite good shape, but in any event, I think we have enough to do an auction, which I would suggest we do.
All right, so
But this
wonderful.
particular resolution is about.
No,
next
before I
year.
get to your resolution.
Okay.
So, Bishop, I want to get these properties on the chopping block.
I
By
think
next-
we can have an auction set up probably by August or September. We can
Okay,
actually
great.
have it.
Yep,
That's great.
so let's do that.
Okay?
Great. Excellent. And then you're gonna, I guess, put out bids to auction companies? Is that the way you're gonna do it? Or?
No,
We've done that already.
we went out, right,
We know.
We don't need to do that.
no.
No.
We just go hire the guys we used last time?
No, we interviewed other companies last time, and
Right.
we selected one, so we would use that information to select another company, if we choose to go a different direction.
Okay, great.
But for this resolution, again, it's the In-Rems that are in excess of 2 years. I kept the same fee, $400 a parcel, and that's paid for by the taxpayer, and it also, they have to pay court costs, title costs, and other costs, and Mr. Meck and I have a wonderful system in place now, so we're like a well-oiled machine.
Beautiful.
And
Give us some of
I
those
said we have about
properties.
40 properties today. And look, Mr. Mecca's office has actually reached out to a number of these taxpayers. Some have come in and paid, but there's always going to be a few that don't. And there are some names on this list that I just repeat. We see them every year. So we would ask that you authorize this so I can get started August 1st.
Good. Can I get any questions from Mr. Noto? We do this every year.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item is a
Oh, yeah.
certiorari proceeding. As you know, last year, the City of Rye withdrew the exemption of parkland for Seaside Johnny's.
We don't have that one in our packet.
I know. You don't have one in front of you. You're going to have to just
Just checking.
listen to what I say.
All right.
We didn't have time, because today was the deadline. So we've actually filed a cert last year, and I filed a motion for summary judgment, which is returnable July 18th, essentially asking the court to grant our request. In response to that motion, the City of Rye has reached out to us to discuss potential settlement, which I won't go into now, because we did discuss it in executive session at the Rye Town Park Commission. However, given the fact that we have to do this every year until it is either resolved between the parties or by the court, we're simply asking your authorization that we file another cert this year, again challenging the revocation of the exemption of parkland at Seaside Johns. So I would just ask someone to make a motion and for it to adopt the resolution, because today was the deadline to file with the city.
Well, just before we adopt the resolution, any questions from Mr. Noto? Basically, well, let me just say,
Well, we can't
I wanna
really get into
congratulate-
what the substance of the
Okay,
potential.
so I just want to congratulate, can I congratulate you?
No, we haven't settled anything yet.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your hard work.
No, we've had a conversation. Funny why the city came around so quickly. It took us a year, and why suddenly filing a motion in court got their attention. I can only speculate.
I think it was actually a good book.
No, I think it was
Congratulate
the weight of the paper that
the
they
attorney of
filed,
the year.
which I did have a copy for you at the town hall. It's a little too.
In all seriousness, I want to thank Mr. Noto for his hard work to put in this case. Obviously, he didn't charge, we didn't send out to an external attorney. He did all the work himself, and that puts us in a very strong negotiating position as well, because obviously the City of Rye would be incurring court costs where we would not be. So I want to thank Mr. Noto for all his hard work on this. There's nothing for us to do today, other than just inform us, correct?
I'm informing you for the 2011, but I am asking for authorization for 2012,
Right.
which may be moot, down the road, which we hope, but if not, we still have to let it proceed.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noto. Thank you for your hard work. Okay, I'm going to have you, sorry, you're on a roll here. Mr. Markowitz not here, so you're going to have to.
Neither Mr. Markowitz or Mr. Vitigliano are present to discuss these, so I'm not going to be able to answer any of the very difficult questions I
I'm looking for the
anticipate.
number.
Actually, I'm wondering, I don't know if this property was recently renovated.
Right. Well, One Harbor Drive, I'm assuming this was a SCAR, unless it was held by an LLC. I don't even think we would have retained counsel on this one, but because it's a single-family residence, and it looks like a fairly insignificant reduction. I think Mr. Markowitz would have done this himself without counsel.
Are these urgent matters?
Yeah, well, look, I think if they're here and they're in front of you, they're important enough to approve. I know that the H is, because I think you, Supervisor, were involved in many conversations with Mr. Binder on this property.
Which one?
This is on H. This is the six-unit building in Mamaroneck. I think it's Mamaroneck. Yeah. And this was, we had many phone conferences on this, you, myself, Mitchell, and Mr. Binder. And you did approve this on H. G, we've not discussed other than Mitchell coming forward with this recommendation.
Any questions for the board?
Mr. Supervisor, are you thinking that we hold off on G till next month and go to H?
Yes, that's sort of what I don't, Mr. Noto?
Yes. You can hold off. I don't think it's
Yes, I am. I hate to, I want to know the facts.
on G.
Yes.
Sorry, so G we're gonna.
We'll table.
No. And
Actually,
H?
no, you don't have to table it.
No.
I think you have to vote to take it off the table, and we'll never remember to do that.
Very good.
We'll just take it off the agenda,
Very good.
and then we'll put it on the agenda for next meeting. H has been kicking around for a while. This I do recall.
Yep.
That we had many conversations. We did not, by the way, we did save money. We did not hire an appraiser.
Yep.
So we did save the town money, and we thought this was actually a fairly good
I think
settlement.
we gave them a take it or leave it, and they took it.
We did, and although I'm told that they filed in 2012, right after we did this, but anyway.
Can they do it? No, they can't.
Yeah, they can, every year.
What did they file at?
It was a ridiculously low number. Not 10% though, but a ridiculously low number, as I recall. Mitchell sent me an email, and Jim.
Is this a residential or commercial property?
It's a commercial property with, I think, 6 units, like 6 apartments.
You know, that's, I have to say, I was not gonna get on my soapbox this month, I absolutely commend it, but isn't that sort of vanity insulting, George? Huh?
Yeah, I mean,
I think quite
Well,
frankly,
here's
you
the-
know
here's
what,
the-
you know what,
here's
you
where
know
it
what,
was-
sorry,
here's how
I'm
it's
not gonna say
ridiculous.
another word.
He agreed,
Yeah, you
no,
know, so, you know,
and here's where it's
I don't want-
ridiculous.
but
He
I-
agrees on 675. I mean,
Right.
this whole thing is an agreement. So
Right.
he's saying, yes,
Yeah.
in 2011, I'm agreeing that the value is 675.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, he comes in for 2012 and says it's worth like, 400, something, just something less than that. That's what I thought was a little ridiculous.
And this is just so everybody understands, we're talking about how many units?
6.
A
6 unit, small apartment.
6 unit property in the village of Mamaroneck. Okay?
So I'm not prepared, Mr. Noto, to approve the park lots. I'm prepared for the board to approve it conditional on, maybe my getting satisfaction representing the board that, I want to talk to the guy and I want to certainly strongly encourage him to withdraw the 2012 certiorari or something like that. You know what? I'm just tired of these people taking advantage of the
I
good
mean,
will
look,
of the
at
town.
the end, look, he knows and we know that the number he gave us is ridiculous. But
Yeah,
the point is, you can't-
no. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get on a
That information's
soapbox.
not on
I'm not-
this
No,
particular.
look,
no,
we should
it's
still
not
go
relevant
ahead
to this
and-
resolution.
Absolutely, we should still go ahead and put
Yes.
on this.
This
It's
is
a
for
whole
next
nother
year.
issue.
Right, next year. This is for next June's
You
meeting.
can't-
I'm not gonna approve it. I'm not
Okay.
gonna approve it. The rest of the board can do it. I'm happy for the rest of the board to do it. I'm not gonna approve it.
I recommend approval, only
Yes,
because I think
I
it
don't have
takes
a
care of 7 years of certs that we'd like to get rid of.
So, Paul, this was all negotiated
Yes.
over, and you were involved in that?
I was,
and
the
you're
supervisor was
comfortable with
involved.
No, the supervisor,
You were involved.
it was, yeah, but you do not, so I'm just gonna make clear my position, my negotiating position. You do not, the whole, everything we're trying to do is to have a goodwill situation. So don't steal from me 5 years in a row and say, okay, you know what, we've agreed a solution, and you're gonna pay me back, and you've agreed, and you're never gonna do that, and then 2 weeks later go out and steal again. And I'm not prepared, just
I
legitimately.
understand what you're saying, I agree.
I'm not
I just don't know that
prepared,
we can revoke
I'm
the
not
settlement
prepared
agreement.
to have.
I'm not sure that that's relevant to what you're
Of
asking.
course, when it was not relevant.
Well,
But
because-
actually, I promised I wasn't gonna say anything this month.
Do you want to
But I-
hold this
so you
over?
can- Yeah, I'm happy to hold it
So
over.
what?
I'm not
What's the
prepared.
purpose of holding it over?
We're not
I want to talk to the
holding it
guy,
over.
I'm gonna tell him, listen, you know what? Don't
You wanna
make
go to the
a
pocket?
mockery of my system. Do not make a mockery. It's one thing to agree something, as you remember, we grudgingly, it pains me to do every one of these things. It just pains me. And now the guy throws it in our face. And so, I'm not prepared to
He knew
vote
the
for it.
deadline was today, so he had no choice but to file. In fact, the ER is meeting today. So he's, as a property owner, he's entitled to file a reduction.
It's certainly entitled.
And
I'm entitled to take him to court.
675.
I want the judge to know. I want the judge to know.
Why is the new one that would, I don't know.
I want the judge to know. I want the judge to know.
I don't know what the new, by the way, I don't know what the new assessment would have been either, so that's a good point.
That would be the only reason.
I'm in favor of tabling it for today.
Okay.
And I think we suggest to Mitch that he bring all the possible paperwork he
Well,
possibly could.
Mitch was, just in
Yeah.
fairness, we were all involved in this.
Right.
What we can't speak to is the fact that after we agreed to this, he filed in 2012,
Right.
which is his legal right to do.
It's perfectly legal right.
But
But
by the way, our agreement with him
just
was
so
to
we're
never
clear,
file
I don't
again.
want,
It
I don't
just
want,
takes care of
I
these
don't want anybody, look, Mr. Noto. We agreed to evaluation of how much?
675.
All right, and so if we've agreed evaluation, just tell me common sense, Mr. Mecca, Honorable Mr. Mecca, perhaps you can help me here. So we've agreed evaluation of 675. And today, when he's asking me to approve evaluation 675, he's telling me, oh, you know what, only joking, I'm at $400,000. Mr. Mecca, can I in good conscience sit with the taxpayers as a fiduciary for the taxpayers in town of Rye and say, this guy who just agreed 675 with me is now at 400? Can I approve something on that basis? Help me.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, I want to talk to Mr. Mecca. Does that make any sense to you?
Going forward, he's not going to automatically get to 400. He's got to fight for that and prove why.
Well,
At that time, you say to him, my friend, last year, we brought you down to 675, and you were...
Not last year, today. And today we're still saying,
Well, Mr.
but he's already telling me I'm wrong.
But there is the possibility that the
He's making a
assessor raised
mockery,
the
he's
assessment.
making a mockery of this board and my agreement.
Well,
And
what if-
so, no,
What if we raised the assessment
No, no,
to 800, and then he
Okay.
came in at 400?
Well, but
You
here's
don't know.
but here's the thing though, okay, what people are losing sight of. Number one is that Supervisor Carvin obviously had intimate conversations with the gentleman, okay? So when you
Well,
have,
with his what?
With his lawyer,
with his lawyer, whoever it is, he had a conversation with him, and there's an agreement. And, you know, when you enter into an agreement with somebody, there's a certain sense of, I don't know, safe or comfort. And so that being said, I agree with Supervisor Carvin. And then on the flip side, you know, Mr. Noto, if in fact his assessment is 800,000, let's not speculate. Let's know the number so we can speak educated. So I agree, and I agree with Councilman Ioris. Let's hold off on that one too.
But hold on, there's one other important, thank you, Deputy Supervisor. There's one other fundamentally important point. There's one other fundamentally important point. So he's agreed 675 via our lawyers.
2011.
Yeah.
Right.
And now he's telling me, but the agreement is being confirmed today.
But understand, it's only for tax, it only goes through tax year 11.
But don't give me the crap.
I'm not.
He's agreeing today,
Yeah.
so you're telling me, look, so you're telling me, that's what
Yes.
please, just to make.
I'm telling you that.
So you're telling me, you're telling me that he's in good faith when he says there's a 50% drop from he shakes my hand today and says it's worth 675 as of a year ago, and then he doesn't mention a word, and then he comes in today 50% lower and says it's only worth 400. Not mentioning a word. Do you think that's a good faith negotiation?
No.
So why are you defending it?
What I'm saying is, for the limited purposes of the settlement, I'm not here to make a moral judgment on the guy's character. That's not why we're here.
No,
I'm basically saying that
it's
the
a good faith
purposes-
negotiation. But it was a negotiation,
Yeah.
no, but for the purposes of the negotiation, you can't.
I don't think he sees it that way. I think he sees
Well, he may
it
see it
as-
not there, but I know how I see it.
I understand that.
And you tell me how you see it.
No, how I see it is that basically we agree that for the years in question, these are the values, and that between 11 and 12, the values could change. We all understand that, either up or down.
But Mr.
And he's
but
gonna-
sorry,
if he thinks it's low, he's going to have
No, but
improvement,
Mr.
and
No,
if he thinks
that's
it's high,
not
we have
even,
improvement.
I apologize. That's not even a reasonable conclusion.
Well,
No, I'm sorry, I just want to finish.
I don't know.
No, sorry, Mr. Noto, you know.
Well, I'm not a defender of the system. I'm just
I
explaining
promise, you
how it
are,
works.
you are,
No.
you're sending the wrong signal.
I'm not sending a signal.
Yes,
I'm-
you are.
no,
You
no.
are. It's not reasonable to suppose.
We
No, but
said-
stop. It's not reasonable to suppose there's a 50% reduction in the value. It's not reasonable.
That's his
That's not
position. That's
reasonable.
not
No,
our
it's not reasonable. It's not a reasonable supposition. It's wholly unfair.
Where does it say you have to be reasonable? Well, I gotta.
Okay, now we're talking.
Where's the
Okay,
premise that
now we're
everything someone
talking.
does?
Now
is
we're
legal,
talking.
has to be
If you want to talk about legal games, to game the system, then fine, but don't negotiate with me. Because if you're going to play legal games, I'm not going to play the games. I'm not going to play the
To
legal
our credit,
games.
we didn't, and one of the reasons we were able to do this is because we had held the line, we were very firm, we didn't hire an appraiser, we still got what we wanted. So the reality is, what I'm saying is, we are sending the message to the community via the courts that we are fighting every one of these tooth and nail, which is a good message. And I think they understand that. He didn't come in at 10%, which I thought was interesting, because everyone else does, so, you know. And I'm sure, you know.
my legal question for you is,
Yeah.
can we retract the agreement that
There's
was
no
made
agreement, there's no
that's
written
put
agreement.
on
There's
this
no agreement.
resolution?
There's no agreement, there's no agreement.
Well, you said
So we
that.
approve it tonight.
Well,
Well, the agreement
Here's
that's
the
going to
problem.
be put in
There's
place.
a
There's a meeting of the minds.
So
let me answer Councilwoman Collins' question. There were deadlines to be met for exchange of appraisals and other discovery. And in lieu of meeting those deadlines, we agreed to these numbers. So we can't, like, on this particular agreement, go back and say, well, we've changed our mind, because then the judge is going to say, well, you didn't file what you needed to file because you settled the case, and therefore, do you want to go to trial, you know, without that, which would be pretty much a disaster for us. So there was some deadlines that we agreed not to have to meet with the other side because we were
Which
submitting.
is how we've arrived at what
Yeah.
we're looking at.
Exactly. That's how we got to these numbers, because we saved money other ways by not having to pay more fees and more appraisal.
So what's your recommendation, Mr. Noto?
My recommendation, we do approve this.
Okay, and as I
I
said.
hear you, I
the board-
understand,
the
but,
board's
you know, I'm a
perfectly-
lawyer, I'm not, again, I'm not the moral
Yeah,
compass
you know,
of the search department.
So just to be absolutely clear for the public at home, the gentleman agreed to 675 valuation today, now he's talking it's 4,000, 15 minutes later. So we approve it, actually 15 minutes, and 2 hours ahead, when did he file today?
Well, I don't know when he actually filed,
Today?
a couple of weeks ago. I don't
All right,
know.
so anyway.
Deadline was today.
So he filed, he agrees to 675, then 2 weeks ago, and then he files at 400. Makes absolutely no sense. It's egregious, it's scurrilous. That's the first point. The second point is, now, Mr. Noto, we're a reval community. Is it New York State or policy to encourage revals?
Yeah.
Okay, now, if we had
But
not
do they
done,
help us?
if we had not done a reval, would he be able to do what he just did? And the answer is no.
No, because he would have had a settlement.
Exactly right. So we're getting screwed for having been a reval community. And you know what? If the judge wants to penalize us, then the judge's going to penalize us. Because I'm not prepared. No, I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared to get screwed every which way because we've done the reval. We've done the right thing. It makes no sense. And you know what? If we got to do it, we got to do it. But I'm not prepared. I'm perfectly. And again, the board's open and perfectly reasonable to side with Attorney Noto and say, oh goodness, gracious. Oh my goodness, things didn't might work out for us. But you know what? I'm just not prepared to subscribe to insanity. And it's an
The other
insanity.
side,
No, wait, let me
these are
finish.
our numbers.
Thank you
Joe.
for bringing that up
These-
voluntarily today.
I know, I really should get around to
Yeah.
it. These were our numbers, that this was our final offer with the 675.
No,
that
our
he took.
numbers. As I said, against every fiber in my body, agreed to this. It says, as Mr. Villanova said, the valuation we gave him is scurrilous. But you know what? Since, as we said last time, and I wasn't going to do the speech, but we would have had to hire an assessor. We would have had to go to court. It would have cost us more to do all that than to agree. And against every fiber in my body, I agreed. But now he just throws it in my face. Says, you know what? You've succumbed to the insanity of the system, and I'm gonna, on top of it, I'm gonna just jump on you.
But understand one
and
thing, they all do it. Every settlement we've approved that takes us through 2011, I would bet 90% of those property owners have filed again for 2012. So this is nothing new.
No, but
They
you're-
all do the
And
same.
we'll fight
Right.
them again in
Right.
2012.
Exactly.
Continue the process.
But here's
Exactly.
the
That's
We're not
difference.
fighting them, Christine.
The
We're not
difference.
fighting them.
The
We're not fighting
difference.
them.
The timing
We're
of
not
this may
fighting
be
We're
them.
bad.
making choices
No,
to
the
challenge
difference-
them
We're
in
not
the
fighting
way
them. We're
that
not
makes the
fighting
most sense for the other taxpayer dollars.
No, we're not
The
fighting.
difference here is that Supervisor Carvin had a specific conversation
Well,
with
the lawyer
these people.
did not
The
know.
lawyer had a specific conversation with these people, okay?
But actually,
Actually,
he's
no,
been
stop,
involved.
because you actually brought something up that I was unaware of. So what I wanted, again, there's one, this property is for approval in front of me.
Right.
Now we know that he came in at
2012, yeah.
But what I want you, if you wouldn't mind, and Mr. Markowitz, is to tell me, everybody we've settled, how many have come back? And I
Sure.
will tell you, I'd come back at those stupid
We'll
valuations.
file for the bar, I
And-
mean, yeah, because
Yes.
the bar was
Yeah, I
today, it's
understand.
tonight.
File
So
for the board.
That's
Those
easily
stupid valuations.
accessible information, and again, not having it in front of me, I can
No,
tell you
no,
about
but I
90%.
want that, I want a full presentation. In fact, actually, I did ask Mr. Markowitz to come and make a full presentation this time. But now, would you
You're
take,
involved in
would
these
you put this
negotiations.
in the minutes, please? I want Mr. Markowitz and Mr. Noto to make a full-fledged presentation about how they're gonna solve this conundrum, the gaming of the system. Mr. Noto from a legal standpoint, and Mr. Markowitz from the evaluation. I want to know where we've agreed, and how many of these people have come in like this guy today.
Yeah.
And
I am
refiled.
sure a lot of.
And I want everybody to know that, in fact, you know what? I think, we have to give serious consideration to undoing the reval. Serious consideration to undoing the reval. We're just getting crushed. This guy could not file
For 3 years.
for 3 years on that. So we're just stupid.
But just so
Just
you know,
stupid.
other, town of Amerenik,
Stupid. It's just
Greenberg and
stupid,
Yonkers, and New Rochelle are all looking into doing a remodel.
Yeah, well, yeah,
There might
great.
be some merit to it, because
There's
you've
no
led the
merit
way.
to it. There's no merit to it. You know, I gotta say,
No,
New York
the system-
State,
the
New York
system
State,
doesn't
New York,
help.
no, New York, I have to say, New York State is the worst run state in the nation. It's the absolute worst run state in the nation. I just never, for the life, I'm incredulous. And again, who loses? The schools? This is money taken out of our school children. I promised myself I wasn't going to have this speech tonight.
Are we holding this over, or are we voting
Uh,
on it?
What does the board want to do? What do you guys want to do?
I'm only the
I'm not
messenger.
gonna, I'm not gonna vote for it. I'm happy to hold it over. But
Will
the
it
rest
be
of
a
the board.
problem to hold it over?
No, I mean, I think we'll just inform them that the
Then
board
let's
needs
hold
more
it
time to review it, and we're back in July, so, yeah.
That's why I'd like to make a motion to hold the resolution.
Well, actually, I'm gonna explore taking them to court. I'm not, you know,
Well, I don't know if we can do that, I wouldn't necessarily say that.
But I
because
want
I'm
to
not
explore
sure
that. I want to
how
sit
we
down
get-
and talk with our accountants.
I'm not sure we're voting on it.
Well,
But
certainly
anyway,
always-
we're gonna remove it from the agenda tonight, we'll put it on the agenda for next week, is that fair?
Yeah, but I would hope, I want in bold letters,
If you wanna know
Mr.
who-
Markwood's presentation
Okay.
on how we're gonna solve the gaming of the system by the corporations who are, you know, gaming the system. And I want a presentation from Mr. Noto from a legal standpoint. And I want every attorney that's done any work from us here at the next month's meeting. I want to finish. I want every attorney that's ever done any work from us at next month's meeting. I mean, this is scurrilous. I'm sorry, you know, I can't, again, every month I get up and I look like an idiot,
No,
like a madman. But this is insanity.
No,
And, you know, we just sit there and go, you know what? Okay, you know, nothing's gonna change, that's the way it is. You know, and the third thing I want an analysis from Mr. Markowitz, the advantages and disadvantages of reval, and whether we should abandon the reval. Because the next question I'm gonna ask you, where are we with our law? And the answer is nowhere, because we're the worst run state in the nation. And so ultimately, we've 3 years now, we've made no progress with our law, no progress with anything. So it makes no sense to be reval. You know, at some point, you know, the people are going to demand, you know, good government, and what we're going to have to say is, well, Town Attorney Noto says it's impossible.
Actually, I'm quite disappointed because I thought this month we would see a listening report of the value at risk of all two.
That's exactly what we asked for, isn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I
Would you
don't see
put
that
that
report
down
in
as
my
well,
packet.
value at risk? In fact,
Looking for the search.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to actually.
And Mitchell has that information, but I think equally important, and you raise a good point, is the people that file in 2012, after we settled in 2011, and I'm sure it's the same people, because you see the same 250 certs.
How do you know
Every
unless
year.
you have a
Yeah,
value
because
at
I
risk
see the papers.
by
and what
property?
we, you know, you
Yeah,
just see
but we don't see that.
Yeah.
We need to look
So
at
we
it.
have all that. I mean, that's, you're fine.
Oh, but sorry, I want to pause. I'm not going to get mad at every meeting. We're going to have a monthly report on our progress against gaming the system. And Mr. Councilman Norris is absolutely correct. We were supposed to get a value at risk. And I want to see the value at risk every month at the meeting. And I want to see how much is at risk. I want the taxpayers to know how much money is risk being stolen from them. Because remember, these monies are taken back. And again, you know, the whole, what people I need to understand also is that the reason the commercial property, their taxes are so high is precisely because of this reason. So the biggest losers are the other commercial property owners. What is the status of the law?
I spoke to Steve Otis yesterday. He said that this is the week. He's you know, Susie's bills are moving this week, so he told me. You know, we are relying on Senator Oppenheimer to get it through the Senate. It's already passed the Assembly, so we'll know on Thursday.
What do you handicap it at?
I'm not an optimist when it comes to Albany, so I'm the wrong guy to ask.
3 years?
3 years. But that may give us an indication of how difficult it is to effectuate change in Albany. But then there's, when people get elected, you never know.
I'm sort of.
But it's hard.
I'm naive, but
It's not an easy place to get legislation.
I'm sort of surprised that And you know, it's a shame.
And you would think something like this, which is pretty straightforward and intelligent, should have no difficulty.
We tried to do it on a home rule basis too, that was the other thing. We tried to do it on a home rule basis. We almost had it done the first year on a home rule basis.
Couldn't get them through, right?
We could not to get the assembly.
Right, the Senate and the Assembly.
No, the Senate was on board. for it.
Right, we got the Assembly, and then we got the Assembly on board for the statewide bill, but not the Senate, so it's just